Namaskar friends, myself Deepak Kumar Rath. I welcome you to the digital media of Uday India. Friends, I want to now tell you one famous dialogue of Pushpa film. You all have heard about this. इंडिया सुन के फ्लावर समझा क्या, फायर है मैं फायर फायर. Friends, like this dialogue of famous film Pushpa, India has reacted to the recent attacks on Indian High Commission. Indian police have suddenly reduced security from in front of British High Commission and High Commissioner's house in Delhi. Friends, the unexpected decision is being interpreted as a response to the recent attacks by Khalistani radicals on the Indian High Commission in London. All external protection that was supplied to the British mission in India has been removed by Indian authorities along with the barricades from in front of the British High Commission and the residence of British High Commissioner. This is an act of retaliation by India after British government neglected to provide protection for the Indian High Commission in London on last Sunday when the office was stormed by Khalistani militants or Khalistani terrorists. The development follows a review of the problem at the highest level of the government. The incident had been vehemently denounced by the Indian authorities, who also called the British High Commissioner to express their strong disapproval. India is especially angry since the British government disregarded information Indian higher authorities provide about potential violent protest by pro-Khalistani elements. This reaction of India is consonant with the slogan, "Mera desh badal raha hai." I mean, India has changed in last 9 years and it shows it in its response to many crisis situations in the world over. Earlier, it used to do only ninda. Now, it reacts. This is the difference which has come in India's attitude in last 9 years. The rise of India as a global power has been a topic of discussion and debate for many years now. While some countries have welcomed India's emergence as a major player on the global stage, others have expressed their concern over what they see as a challenge to their own power and influence. Friends, one of the countries that has expressed concern about India's rise in the UK or Britain, which has a long and complicated history with India. The relationship between Britain and India dates back to 17th century when East India Company established a presence in the region. And more than 200 years, Britain ruled India as a colony, exerting its political and economic influence over the region. While India gained its independence from Britain in 1947, the legacy of colonialism has had a lasting impact on the relationship between the two countries. Today, Britain and India have a complex relationship that is characterized by both cooperation and competition. On the one hand, the two countries are important trading partners with bilateral trade between two countries that valued at over $24 billion in 2021. At the same time, Britain is also home to a large Indian diaspora with around 1.5 million people of Indian origin living in the country. However, there are also areas of tension in the relationship between Britain and India, particularly when it comes to India as a rising power on the global stage. Friends, some British policymakers and political analysts, they have expressed their concern over India's growing economic, political and military clout and what they see as a challenge to Britain's own power and influence. One area of particular concern is growing competition between India and Britain for influence in Africa. India has been expanding its presence in the region in recent years, investing in infrastructure projects and forging closer ties with African governments. And this has led to concerns in Britain that India is seeking to challenge its historical influence in the region, particularly in former colonies such as Kenya and South Africa. There are also concerns in Britain about the growing military capabilities of India. India has been investing heavily in its military in recent years, with a particular focus on modernizing its air force and navy. Some British analysts see it as a challenge to Britain's own military power, particularly in Indian Ocean region, where Britain has traditionally played a dominant role. Since finally, there are also concerns in Britain about the growing assertiveness of India on the global stage. Some British policymakers worry that India's rise as a major player in international affairs could lead to a greater competition and political conflict between India and other major powers like China and USA. Friends, there are also concerns that India's growing power could lead to a shift in balance of power within institutions such as the United Nations, where Britain holds a permanent seat on the Security Council. While concluding, one could say the relationship between Britain and India is still complex and multifaceted, with both cooperation and competition between the two countries. While India's rise as a global power has been welcomed by many countries, there are also concerns in Britain about what this means for its own power and its influence on the global stage. As India continues to develop and modernize, it is likely that these concerns will continue to shape the relationship between India and Britain as they navigate their competing interests and ambitions in a rapidly changing world. This is all for today because of the rising concerns on the recent attack in Indian High Commission by Khalistan terrorists. That's all for today. Stay tuned with Uday India. Bande Mataram.